can't stop it.
She's ready to jump.
She has a new
I
phone.
can't, I have a new phone and I can't work it.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Lebanon Board of Park Commissioners meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and let the record show that everyone is present except Jessica Lawler. If everyone's had a chance to look at the minutes from the August meeting, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Is there any old business to come before the board?
Yes, good evening. There are a couple updates from old business. First, I wanted to go forward with the playground timeline. We already have direct purchased the playground equipment. The bid quotes are due Monday, September 13th at 3 p.m. Bid quotes will be open Monday, September 13th at 5:30 at the Board of Works, and that is for the construction work that will be done. There again, will be taken under advisement and awarded no later than October 6th at the Park Board meeting. And all the plan documents are available in the park office for anyone that is interested in that work, but we did send it out to several as requested, as the ordinance calls for. The lighting project, there again in front of you, I don't know if you've all had a chance to look at it, but I've run it through the city attorneys, and they have approved us to do a direct purchase for the lighting, and that is just for all the lighting equipment. It'll be an 8 to 10 week delivery time, but I would need your approval for that today. If you could look through that, I will need an approval for you and Lori Gross to sign the direct purchase of that. There again, we're going to advertise September 7th and 14th. The plans are available Wednesday, September 8th, and we'll do that from Eastern Engineering. The pre-bid meeting will be September 14th at 11 a.m. at the park office. And the bid date will be Monday, September 27th, and we might have to have an executive session. I'm still checking with the attorneys to see if that will be necessary to have a approval from the park board, so we might have an executive session.
Is this to install the lighting?
Yes, that's for the
Right, because what we have
pre-bid
is
is,
to
because we're going to
purchase the
direct
lighting.
purchase just like we did with the playground, and this is, all the bids are coming in would be for construction. Those will be sealed bids and not opened until the Board of Works. And all the plan documents, again, are available in the park office for anyone to come and look at. But in front of you is the spectrum, the lighting, and what we were doing on that, that was another confusing part. We really don't do a lot of direct purchasing, but it saves the city taxpayers quite a bit of money by doing a direct purchase rather than going through a contractor. We get very nice government discounts, let alone. But what it all boiled down to was the standards. We're going with the standard lighting that we use downtown, our lighting there, and all down Main Street that we have on our bike pedestrian trail down there. So it'll be the standard look. It's a 7-year warranty, and the way we could do that is because of the standards that we have. And there again, it has been run through the attorneys several times, and approval has been by Craig DeVault, our city attorneys.
Okay, so what he's asking for us to do is approve the purchase of the lighting on the one document, and I'll get it down there, and we can do those at the end of the meeting after everybody's had time. And then
I also, it's kind of old business, I guess, would be, there's another contract in there, and that is for our 5-year master plan. Our 5-year master plan runs out at the end of this, well, basically the end, January the 21st, I believe it is. What the master plan allows us to do is not only plan what we're going forward with in the next 5 years, but also for any grant purposes, you have to have a master plan as part of it and approved by the DNR. That needs to be submitted before January, so I think we should get started on it. There again, Deb Schmucker from Cornerstone did our last master plan 5 years ago. She's actually, I don't know that she wants me to tell her, but it's considerably cheaper than it was the last 5 years ago. And what has gone down in the last 5 years, just saying. But we work well with her. If you guys are pleased with her, I would need approval for that contract also. There again, if you aren't happy with it or want me to go out and get other engineering quotes, I can do that. But I think we're pretty comfortable with her. And the last item that I have is HWC is going for our pool expansion, and that's just for the renderings and having an open public hearing and kind of communication there. The contract has not been released yet by the attorneys. I know that it went to HWC for some corrections. HWC, Hannum Wagon Klein, has sent it to our attorneys, and that is where it is. It has not come back out of our city attorneys to go back to Hannum Wagon Klein. And that is just for the first process of the pool expansion. Still isn't going to happen for several years, but we need to plan ahead for that. And there again, as soon as the legal people get done with it, it'll be in front of you. But there again, that will have to hold off till, I believe, the next October meeting for you to address.
Okay, so the attorneys have reviewed the contract from
Yes.
Deb Schmucker.
Deb Schmucker
also.
is the same contract, basically, only a lower price than it was the last time.
Okay,
And same thing with the Spectrum, that has already been approved for a direct purchase and meets all the guidelines that were requested by the state.
okay. And these are all projects that we met with the council with at the beginning of the budget period last year to try to accomplish. So this is really moving along well. I know it's September, but
Yeah, it is. It's
still
taken quite a
going.
bit. There's been a lot of back and forth and changing of things. Banner arms are now going to be on the poles. We had different lighting for the security cameras. Some of the ways that we're going to install them has changed as far as that goes. And a lot of site work that we had to kind of redo some here and there and on both of these projects. So that's where we stand on those.
So for today, you need two recommendations. One would be for the approval of the lighting purchase, and the other is for Deb Smucker's contract. Those just two
Correct.
things for today. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's all I had.
Okay.
Reading the quote, I am understanding this is not labor, that's what you said, correct? The lighting, it is
No,
not
that is
labor.
just direct purchase of the lights only. Yeah, if we'd go through a contractor, and you're a contractor, I think you know there's a little markup for your efforts and for your hard work. And, yeah, we saved that by doing that. We basically did a direct purchase also on the wave pool or on the splash pad. I think we did some on downtown, but some of it went through contractors versus us purchasing. So this is kind of a new deal and pretty cool that we get to do this, but we went by our standards lighting that we've worked with these people, and they're top of the line. I think you'll be very pleased when you see the lighting.
Okay.
Oh, Memorial Park. Yeah, all the trail and the lighting there, starting there.
Been on our wish list for a while.
A long time.
Because the safety for more than anything.
I would make a move that, or a motion that we go ahead and accept the quote for the $264,165.34 from ESL Spectrum. Give John the authority to buy direct with council's acceptance. And I think that's it. Anything else I need to add on that?
No, that's it.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to purchase the lighting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Okay.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we extend the contract with Dev Schmucker and Cornerstone to follow up for the next 5 years, in the similar fashion that we did previously.
A second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the master plan with Cornerstone, and all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good move.
Okay. Okay.
New business? Oh, okay.
Do you have new business before we
Yeah,
do?
the new business would be Derek Warren, I believe, is going to speak. Derek was kind enough to come to the planning, he's from the planning department, and he's going to speak about the trail that we have, you requested for him to show where all the trail is going. I think everybody got a packet, or did you get the email with the drawings? Hopefully you did. Okay.
Yeah.
There again, Derek Warren, if you want to speak and show us your stuff.
Yeah, please.
We did not get a packet ahead of time, just so you know.
I forwarded it to the Parks Department
Okay.
Monday, and they
I think
requested
there's
it
one
was
floating
forwarded
around
to you,
here,
so-
paper copy, yeah.
Is it on your phone?
So, as John said, my name's Derek Warren. I work in the Planning and Zoning Department. I've been involved with the planning for the trail extension that the city has decided to move forward with, the Big Four Trail. It's comprised of two different components, an urban component and a rural component. So the urban component will take the trail from where we left off at Meridian and Main Street, bring it south on Meridian Street on the west side of South Meridian Street, down to Superior Street, which is the north side of this building. We will cross over to East Street on Superior Street, on the south side of Superior Street, again on our side here that the municipal building is on, to Southeast Street, to the east side of Southeast Street, down to about a parcel south of Noble Street, and then we cut into Abner Longley at that point through some property we purchased a few years ago off one of the neighboring property owners there. For tonight's purposes, I can talk to you about how the trail is designed to come through Abner Longley. I also mentioned, excuse me, let me back up for a minute, that there is a rural component of this trail as well, the construction, and that picks up from basically Center Township line going northwest into Thorntown. So we will have the entire trail paved from Sarum Plant Road, which is essentially Thorntown city limits, all the way through Abner Longley and down to 100 south of the fairgrounds. So this opportunity came about because of some state grant money that the state of Indiana made available called the Next Level Trails Grant. It was released in 3 different phases. We did not apply for round 1 because of the short notice. We did apply for round 2. We made the decision in 2019 to make application for that. Of course, it got caught up in COVID delays and came back around for the second round to open in 2021 early. So we did jump back in. Just to give you an idea of where we're at financially, we roughly received a $3 million grant from the state to complete this trail connection. The city is putting in roughly $1.5 million as part of the grant application. So it's roughly a $4.5 million project when you put both of the sections together. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. We did receive the grant award from the state, so that's why we're moving forward with this. So it's opportunistic at the time. We didn't know necessarily if and when we were ever going to complete the connection, but when these chances become available, and the opportunity that the state put in front of us was so good that we had to jump at the chance. So,
Congratulations, that's
yeah,
great.
Thank you. Yeah, we believe it's the largest single grant that the city's ever received at one time. So it's a pretty big deal.
What was the total amount?
The total amount grant money from the state was just under $3 million.
That's
just
great.
a smidge under, with the city putting in 1.5. So the urban section itself is about a $2.2 million project. The remaining dollars go to the rural section, which is a whole lot more straightforward. You know, it's prepping the base of the old rail bed and putting down asphalt. So the urban section, fortunately, neither section for that matter had any right-of-way acquisition. We have the space available right-of-way wise for everything we need to put this trail in. So from Meridian Street down to where we cut into Abner Longley is basically the same type of trail that you see on Northeast Street, which is essentially a 10-foot wide concrete path.
Could you, Derek, I'm sorry, but can you show, we have some
Yep.
people here that want
Sure.
to, they're not following it home.
I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
So once we cut into Abner Longley, it's a 12-foot wide asphalt path. We transition over to that, a more typical path, because there's obviously more space available. So the 10-foot is what fit in our right-of-way when you start talking about South Meridian, Superior, and Southeast Street. So I have engineering documents I can show, which get kind of hard to read. Those are better probably served one-on-one in our office, if anybody wants to see those. But I do have a aerial that shows the approximate location within a couple feet.
Yeah,
and I can give the details as we move along
Yeah,
through here
that's
as far
what
as
they're
offsets and all that
for
sort of
the-
thing.
yeah.
So this is it. We are going to host a open house that we're going to invite everyone, all the property owners through the whole corridor in probably about the second week of October. We're trying to put that together now. It'll be an open house, here at this building, 7 p.m., and it'll give property owners a chance to have a kind of a more one-on-one experience with the planners that have been involved with this, myself,
Okay,
city
well,
engineer, the mayor, and we will be able to answer some more specific questions to property owners. So, but for tonight's purposes, this is the general path, so I can kind of go through things from how we connect to the Safe Routes to School path over here on Hendricks Drive. So we will come off of that existing path and snake our way on the very eastern property line of Abner Longley, in between what is going to be the Lebanon Utilities water treatment storage facility and the eastern property line. We start to make our way up through into what's known as the old Conservation Club, and we brought it near the body of water to include this peninsula as a opportunity for kind of a stop along the trail. So kind of a place that people can stop and gather and enjoy the amenity there. Then we come along and we skirt the north side of the property for Abner Longley down into the north side of the football field area. We dip down there to avoid some drainage, and then come back up and through the property that we purchased, as I mentioned earlier, a few years ago, over to Southeast Street. So the property, or I'm sorry, the trail itself, once you start talking about this section right here, the trail is 12 feet wide at this point, and just to give you an idea kind of where it lands, 6 feet of it is in the utility electric easement, the 20-foot utility electric easement on our side, and then there's another 20 feet on the north side as well. So that roughly puts it from the property line of these property owners right here, roughly 15 feet off of the edge of the back edge of their property. So it snakes in between the back edge of their property and wetlands that are in the old Conservation Club area, so we don't disturb those. Is what's happening there. So that's essentially kind of the path as it makes its way through Abner Longley. Again, I have the engineering drawings, but you get kind of lost in the detail of those. So this is the path. It will be lit, not every 50 feet. We're looking at about every 100 feet, and it will be the same lighting standard that John's using in Memorial Park. Same lighting standards downtown, so keep everything consistent. So it'll look very similar, not quite as congested necessarily as what you see on West Main Street, but a very similar type of feel. So I'm happy to answer any other details that I can about the process or the path or anything else you want to ask.
I'm going to ask a few questions, and then I'm going to open it up to the public. This was not what I had anticipated, the route of the trail, just because it doesn't go along with our master plan. But I have a few questions because on this route, I went out there and looked at it. So the fence is going to have to be removed and a lot of trees.
There'll be, the fence is coming down, yes. The fence, there's been some desire to have the fence already down. If the fence isn't down by the time the trail starts, the trail will.
Right, I understand that. I'm not trying, I'm going to say, I really hate to see that because it does protect kind of a nature center in there that is going to be unprotected and people will be able to drive golf carts through and things like that. I mean, my vision towards the future was to put a better looking fence up there when we had the money, but this kind of caught me off guard, I have to say, because it kind of messes up our master plan of what we had planned for the facility. And I know there's nothing I can do. They're going to take the fence down. I hate to see it because I know what's going to happen back there. We're going to lose all of the nature part, which is one of our goals for that park. And I'm afraid we're going to have a lot of unwanted visitors in there at night. That's pretty isolated. And I'm just saying to you, I'm not pointing, I'm just making statements because it caught me off guard. It really did. And I hate to see any trees, even little ones, taken down. And I'm not understanding totally where it's going to go because there's right inside that fence is a whole row of electric poles.
It will be south of the electric lines.
So that means more of the brush will come out.
Yeah, well, the brush is coming out, yeah, and that's just what it is. There's a lot of invasive species in there that shouldn't be there to begin with. Honeysuckle, thistle, there's all kinds of stuff in there that quite frankly is illegal for us to own and be there. So the effort, and I can't speak necessarily to where the effort's at right now, but there will be an effort to clear some of the underbrush throughout the area there, open it up so people can't, as you might fear, hide and do things in there they shouldn't be. But it's just as dense outside of the fence on the south side here, if you want to pull up the map again. We have plenty of woods that are unprotected by fences.
Well, not
and it's
there,
not an
though.
excuse not to open up an amenity that the city owns and let people enjoy it and not keep it fenced in. But that I'm not here to talk about the fence. I'm just here to talk about.
No, I'm just stating a fact, my concerns with the fence
Sure.
coming down. My goal was we would put a more attractive fence. I don't particularly like the fence, but I don't particularly want people in there partying at night, and I don't want golf carts in there, and I don't want trash dumped in there, and to have a wildlife place kind of in the middle of a town it's kind of neat, to see the animals. And I was out there one time and saw the deer, swimming across, but
The family of foxes.
Yep.
What, Derek, has there ever been any thought of, and maybe the actual, where the trail is going as far as it's already set, but I'm just asking, has there ever been a thought of trying to move the trail from going right behind the houses to like maybe going and cutting through the pond, or like, how that little area is?
Sure. Yep. No, it's certainly.
I mean, I'm sure the money was different as far.
I'll answer one question at a time. So the trail, there's going to be a trail there, whether it's the Big Four or whether it's a spur.
Right.
So the Big Four essentially becomes the backbone for the trail system that will eventually develop throughout the entire community, just like it has in Carmel, just like it has in Indianapolis, Westfield, Boulder, Colorado, Los Angeles, California, Bradenton, Florida. It's not a Lebanon thing, it's not an Indiana thing, it's a United States thing, is
Right.
trail systems. So the idea is to create the backbone and then have spurs come off of that. So whether or not the trail, the backbone, the Big Four, comes down on the western side of Abner Longley and then skirts just for argument's sake, the splash pad, and then comes along the south side of the woods there and over to Hendricks Drive. Essentially, that's going to happen, but that will be the spur instead of the backbone. So the backbone, the idea for the backbone was to get it near the dog park, was the idea of why it came on this side. And it's essentially a straighter shot and avoiding more, clutter, I suppose. Start talking about the parking lot for the football field, the parking lot that they use for the splash pad, the soccer fields, the softball fields, the tennis courts, all of that. It just kind of gets the backbone away from that. But the idea will be there'll be a loop that comes around the western edge of the pond, the Conservation Club, and then the south side as well. So you'll see eventually a circle loop that encompasses the whole park eventually. Yeah.
Okay, like I said, this took me totally off guard, and it's not really what I wanted to see, but I guess I'm going to apologize too, because maybe we should have come forward if we'd have been, in these meetings and shown the master plan too, so we could work through those two things together, because our master plan is like...
Sure. Yeah, I know everybody probably understands master planning. You've been involved with it, and you know that plans change. That's why they're updated every 5 years.
Yeah, but this is the first
and they are
year.
opportunistic. It's 5 years ago we didn't know we were going to have an opportunity for a $3 million grant. If there would have been a grant for a community center and it would have come first, that would have been the opportunity to take advantage and implement your master plan better. So our master plans, the entire master plan for the city, comprehensive plan, it changes.
Right, and I understand that, but this is the first,
Sure,
as we're
Yep.
going forward with things, and then we're like, oh, time out. Can't do that now, because we have the 69 line went through, and now this, so it's I just kind of feel like we've been kind of left out of the
Sure,
loop.
understand. Well, that's why I'm here
And I know,
answer,
I know.
to present this to you and
I know,
hopefully answer
but
any
I mean,
questions.
this is done, correct? I mean, this is the way it'll be.
We're at 90% construction.
Okay.
Isn't there any way that a member of the park board could be in on some of these talks, be a representative?
Yeah, we're available.
I mean, we're the park board, we feel like we ought to have some say or some part in what's going on in the park.
Sure.
Or around the park,
Yep.
or for the park.
Yeah, it's, we're certainly available. I mean, everybody, I think, knows where the planning department is. If we missed presenting in a board situation like this, we certainly apologize. This has been in the work for several years. It's been talked about in several public meetings, council level meetings. We've had some other checkpoints along the way. Anytime you have questions for any city office, we're certainly available to answer those questions and take input.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I know we have some people in the audience. Oh, I'm sorry.
Got one. So this money, this grant that the city has been awarded, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little concerned about the fence coming down as far as safety and everything else. I've walked it out there many times in the last 6 months. And as far as I'm concerned, unless there's going to be some major repairs and they're going to bring bulldozers in and make those banks a little safer, I'm just concerned about that as far as just a kid. I mean, there's a couple of those banks, Derek, I'm not kidding you. I was shocked that they were that dangerous, I guess. Is that something that, is this money going to help us work on those kind of things? I mean...
It's for the trail only.
Okay.
I mean, to be quite frank with you, I walked the site with John on Tuesday. People are getting in that fence today. I mean, there's sections on the south side where it's pulled away from the.
Well, and
you know,
I
and
get
they're-
that's
I
you know,
get
gonna
that,
happen.
if somebody
I
wants to
suppose
get
you
in
wanna get
someplace, they're gonna get in it,
Yeah.
and I get that, but also as far as, I'm assuming as a legal and a liability standpoint, if there's a fence up, we have a little bit bigger leg to stand on than it just being an open, come on in.
No, because we own the property, we're liable whether there's a fence around it or not. We could have people sign waivers that they won't jump in, and if they jump in, they're still gonna sue us, and, we're liable because we own the property, period.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just concerned on a liability and a destruction standpoint, because I know anybody's going to jump over a fence, but we don't want to make it so easy for them, that's what I'm concerned.
Children on that football field, that fence was down. Little children, while the parents were watching.
Okay, hold on, because I want you to be able to come up to the microphone. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public and let them come up, and then you can respond to their questions, Derek. If you want to come up and state your name and address, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
My name is Bruce Atkins. I live at 410 East Noble Street, and we're the bait shop there that's been there since 1969. We see the foxes and the cubs running in that area. We see all the wildlife. We also see everything bad that comes through. So the more accessible you make that, my major concern is if you want to tear down a part of the fence, great, but obviously there wasn't a plan B, where, can you pull that map up again? Okay, they've taken over the house for the utilities. They ran the utilities instead of moving the poles further apart at the road. I have one of those great big round bases 15 feet from my door. I can hold up an electrical tester at my heart and walk around my property. We got wires around 3 sides. That electrical, I'm getting hit with radiation because these guys, engineers, it's a good plan, go with it. Those poles could have been set at property lines. So I see what he's saying, but I also see that as the trail goes up there past the ponds, it could continue north, which he doesn't have. There's actually utilities that the other one could have piggybacked on and have been a better situation because you already have power lines there that goes across from the Conservation Club.
What are you saying going north, Bruce? I'm a little
to
lost.
the east of the hot bottom, yeah.
So are you saying running it on the north side of Noble?
No, where it goes through the Conservation Club there,
Oh,
down the
okay,
edge.
yeah.
And then the path where the houses are and the driveway coming down, there's 40 feet or more there. The bicycle trail could go right through there and continue up that street and tie in, because doesn't one of those roads run along the rail?
Yeah, we don't own the rail corridor there.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Okay,
Right.
yeah. So where else, I mean, Plan B, you guys don't have a Plan B, you just drew this up and said, because I really don't want to see any infant or child drown. It's hard enough, but if you got to take the fence down, use that money. If that's connected to that trail, use that money, build a better fence. That would be a good suggestion for the engineers, because, I helped with the hot pond, told them, do not drill, there's no need to drill. So I saved them hundreds of thousands of dollars on that. I've got a degree in architecture. Are you speaking out of your rear? No. But they could also come behind those houses and turn in that vacant lot where the power lines go up right beside my property.
Where they tore the house down on Noble Street, that's?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And those light poles go right up what is that road? Side of us, John? Hamilton Street. So it could go up to the left of Hamilton underneath the power wires. You know, you've already got an easement there that goes up. You know, you could divert it and take it straight up there. You know? Just, there's no, and I cannot believe that they did not have the Parks Department or in on any of these meetings on planning something for the Parks Department. You know? I'm surprised. I don't know. I know Matt's your boss, and, you know, I'm just concerned, you know, you guys are making these plans without any input. I didn't even get input knowing that they were going to set a light pole 15 feet from my door, 13 feet from my bedroom. So I think you ought to take more of the concerns of the community and people around there. The bake shop's open from 8 to 6. You could have knocked on the door. Do you have any concerns? You could have sent around a notice to all people along that trail. Do you have any concerns? I didn't get a notice. Did you send out one? No. I got a notice for the water tank. Where we are in Noble, the water tank is back here south. Is that behind the Conservation Club? I got a certified letter for work done around a water treatment plant over here, which is great. My voice was heard. Your voices were not heard. I mean, these people's voices were not heard. The community wasn't heard from. Let's just draw it out. Hey, there's $3,000. Let's grab a hold, or $3 million. Let's grab a hold of it. You know. I think you need to table this, and I think you need to have a meeting, and also, after you have your board meeting and everything, have a table meeting with everybody that's concerned. You don't have to you can send us a certified letter when that meeting's going to be, and we'll all try to be there. I think it's only right that everybody, especially the board, gets heard. I apologize if my name is Bruce Atkins. John knows me as Animal, and I think the other people back here do too. But I think you need to do right by listening to everybody before you jump on and grab it. And there's other ways around there. But the engineer already spent, how much money did you spend on having this drawn up?
I do this up on about 10 minutes.
Oh, okay, so it's not, an engineer wasn't paid to do this, you did this in a zoning thing?
The engineer is paid to do this.
Uh-huh. How much was he paid?
$400,000.
And your voice wasn't heard.
So just to answer, I think, the basic question there, the path is taking what we're taking because we don't have to acquire any right-of-way. We're using all city-owned property. So other routes that were mentioned, we would have had to acquire right-of-way, and you're talking about probably, you know, another, I don't know, can't even tell you how much it would cost, but there's just not the space available. So the space is available on the path we took. It's all city-owned property. We're not paying for any of the ground.
Derek, I do have a question. You may have already answered this, so I apologize if you did. The issue about the fence, and you mentioned that it was coming down, and what was the justification for not replacing the fence? I didn't catch that part.
You know, there's been desire from other corners of the city for the fence to already have been down and not have a fenced-in property that people can't use as the amenity that it was intended to be used for when we purchased the property.
Okay, so there's just more flexibility.
Yeah, the fence is up now because it was a private club, and you know, to be able to use the amenity, you had to join their club to be able to come through the gates. It's now publicly owned, and no different than necessarily the rest of the park that's not fenced in and can be used. So it's a park facility at this point, and
Okay, wait a minute.
the
Mr.
desire for the
Atkins,
fence to come down has been
I want
something that's been
to
outspoken.
give everybody else the opportunity, just a moment.
I want to correct something I said earlier too, is I missed that yesterday we did receive an email with your packet. So I just didn't get to that email yet,
No worries.
so I apologize for that.
No worries. Oh, yeah, and there's a great Indy Star article that was just released, and I encourage you to read it out, print it out for anybody who wants to see it. But it's a great article that explains the evolution of the Monon and exactly what we're all experiencing here, because we're 25 years behind in development, in trail development. But we're not recreating the wheel here. The same concerns have been around for 25 years, or were around 25 years ago when the Monon started. And all those concerns have flip-flopped, and it's now embraced as one of the top amenities in the state. Property values are affected in a positive way, not only on the Monon, but again, throughout the United States. And there is real data now that suggests living within so many feet of a trail, property values can increase by 10 to 15% just because of that. I mean, the proof is in the listings. If you go down Mybel or Zillow, I've done it here last week, the very first thing you see on a listing when their backyard is up against the trail is, Monon Trail adjacent to this property, Nickel Plate Trail adjacent to this property. Every trail you can imagine in the state, that's the very first thing you see on that listing. And it's because property values increase so much because of this amenity. It's our beaches, it's our mountains. We don't have that here, so trails become the top amenity that communities, especially in the central part of the country, can provide. So again, we're not recreating the wheel here, we're just behind in the times.
I'm going to let everyone that wants to speak, and then at the end, if you want to answer, there are comments. Back here.
My name is Jody Higbee. I live at 605 East Newell. What is your timeline on that grant money? How long do you have to spend it?
Okay, if you want to just state all your questions, he'll write them down, and then he'll respond after.
I'll write that down.
Yeah.
Because I know most grants come with a timeline of spending the money. And I'd like to know how long you have before you have to have it spent, and what were the guidelines on the grant. And I know by how I've heard you speak, that this probably is not a big concern of yours. You don't live on this side of town without a doubt, or you're probably not even in our town.
Born and raised.
Oh, they can't. Can you pull the microphone? They can't hear you. Really.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's surprising. There's a fox den right by that fence line that you're going to kill, and her babies, if it's not, I don't know what, she probably doesn't have babies till the springtime, but, the property may have been owned by the city because you took the conservation club, or the city took the conservation club, but it takes a lot of our beauty away from us that are homeowners there. We bought our home there because of where it was, and now that's going to be taken away. The apartments back behind us are all high-traffic drug areas, so without a doubt, that Big Four Trail is going to have drug deals made on it. And I'm sure they go on anyway back in the Conservation Club. We've already had one death, not when it was the city's, but prior to when it was still a Conservation Club. We already had one death over there. So it's not that it can't happen, it has happened. So my first question, as I said, is what are your borders on your money, and how long do you have to spend it? I would ask that, you know, some heartfelt consideration be given to the nature that's over there, the homes that, like a little red fox has a den, which this would be her second or third set of, what are baby foxes called?
Kids.
Kids. Her second or third set of kids that she's raising. And we've watched them. We've got to see them grow up and come out and play and run back in the den. But a lot, that's just being ripped out from us. And as I said, I know it's none of your concern, but it is for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to answer the questions as they come, because I have a feeling I'm going to have 30 questions probably to answer, if that's okay.
Okay.
So the timeline for the urban section is bidding at the end of '21 and construction start in spring of '22, with substantial completion done at the end of '22 and 100% completion done in spring of '23. I don't know exactly, we haven't figured out the logistics of if we're starting in the north end of the urban section or the south end. That's to be determined, but that's kind of the timeline. The parameters for the grant was any community that's applying, or any nonprofit for that matter, was a minimum requirement was 20% match of the grant. The city leaders desire this so much that they put forth roughly 40% to stick out in the crowd. So in round two, we were one of 18 applicants. I'm sorry, there were 18 applicants that were awarded out of 79 applications that were submitted. So, and the number's only going to go up in round three. It was roughly the same in round one. So it's ultra competitive. And as again, to make a application stand out in the crowd, the city council decided 40% was a better number than 20%. And sorry, I do have a soft spot for nature. We're not going to come in and slaughter, you know, the wildlife. We've run into these cases before, and we've expanded the trail, and we've been very careful to make sure that we give the wildlife the opportunity to relocate, and they will relocate. It will be part of nature.
Okay. Would anybody else like to come up and comment? You come up, just state your name and address. Thank you.
Good evening, Parks Board. My name is Casey Sampson. I reside at 119 North Meridian. I've had the pleasure of working with you guys before, I believe, with the Colonial Market Days event. And so this kind of came up out of the blue for me. I didn't know anything about this until just a couple days ago, and didn't know about this meeting either until I was watching it on YouTube and decided to drive over here because I was pretty upset. My biggest concern is I want to clarify something from the board, if you could. You guys were not involved in any of this process and had no knowledge of this project up until tonight, or a couple days before probably, is that correct?
When we received the information, we requested the information because some of the public had come up asking about at one of our meetings.
So just to reiterate, Ms. Gross, that you were not aware of this project? This isn't a deposition.
We were aware of the project, but we didn't know this route had been established.
Okay. That's probably my biggest concern here, especially being this isn't an outside organization. This is the city of Lebanon, and this is the city of Lebanon's parks. This would be a major involvement. Removal of that fence, as many other people have already stated, destroys that wildlife. And I can appreciate the efforts that the organizations have done with these trails across the state and across the country, but relocation of wildlife isn't always the best answer. So removing barriers, taking property, taking those habitats away from our community is not in the best interest, I don't feel. And I guess that brings me to my last point is, who has the authority here? Because I was under the impression that the Parks Board controls the park's grounds. What can be done so we can, as the park board, can feel more comfortable? Is there anything that can be done? And I don't know if that question can be answered tonight, but it seems to be that this was railroaded to a degree upon the Parks Board, and that's very frustrating as a citizen, especially as someone that's lived here my whole life as well, and has been in that park since I was a little kid. We used to have the haunted trail out there. We've got so much memories in that park, and I don't know how often you guys walk that nature trail, but it has dwindled so much in the last decade, let alone the last 5 years in which we lost that far east side of the property. And so to lose more of that, and then to hear something about a circular path around that, adding more concrete to create a concrete jungle that we live in, when we have our own little isle of paradise of nature and wildlife in the middle of our city, I think that is critically important, and I would urge the board to look really far into this to see what can be done, because without the Parks Board approval, or even if it's just a stamp of approval, a rubber stamp of some sort to say that we're on board, I feel like it's a disservice to the community. Lastly here, I just have one other question. This is directly, I guess, for Mr. Warren. That completion of late 2022, is that including sorry, it's kind of awkward standing and talking behind you. Is that including the completion of that circular path, or is that just a longevity plan, a long-term plan? And then with that, how much of that wooded area is included and that's going to have to be reduced, whether it's just brush or not? Those are my last two questions. But I appreciate the board for allowing me to speak. And if any of those questions can be answered tonight, I'd appreciate it, or if they're not, to reach out to me, because I do have a concern with just having no oversight into such a large plan. I think the trail is important. I think it's a great asset to the park. I'm just not sure if the location on the edge of the property is the best. So, thank you.
Thank you.
So, Casey, what was the last question?
The completion date.
Oh, the loop, I'm sorry. Yeah, the loop, none of the loop is planned for right now. We don't have any opportunity to install spurs. I'm just kind of talking about grand vision, whether that's, 5 years down the road, 25 years down the road. That's all to be determined for sure.
Okay. Does anybody else wish to speak this evening? Okay, I'll just close the public portion of the meeting. Just to be honest, nobody here is against the trail. I mean, I think the trails are a wonderful thing. I've used them and everything. I just, as I said before, this caught me off guard. This wasn't what I expected. So that's why we had this meeting tonight, and I appreciate Derek coming and presenting to us and answering the questions, and I appreciate all of you being here this evening. Okay, if no one else we're going to have the director's report.
Thank you. I did want to thank Derek. Derek was on the park board and helped with many projects. He worked on the park board for quite a few, and worked with Derek quite a bit, and he is very passionate about the park system. I just want everybody to know that. Derek really is passionate about everything he does. He's also on the Rails to Trails, and he does that out of passion there again. And he's done a great job, I think, with the trails and this grant. I think this grant is instrumental, and that was Derek. And I just want to thank him very much for everything and all the hard work he's done.
Yeah, John, you need to speak up a little.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me get started. We have had a very busy August with temperatures extremely warm. Obviously, we all know that. Making our water park and splash pad very popular. The water park was at capacity over 50% of the month. Unfortunately, we do not have the staffing to safely open the water park this coming weekend. We do want to thank all our awesome staff for another safe, busy, fun season. We lost 50% of our help when they went back to college. We had 7 freshmen that are at college now, and then the other part of them were already second and third year college students. But COVID has hit again. There's contact tracing, and I have so many staff members, the high school members, that are contact traced where they have to quarantine for 10 days. So they're disappointed too, because there's a lot of hungry kids out there that still want paychecks. And I do have some work that they'll probably be working on the weekends, doing some very busy work. We'll be buffing out the slides and waxing them before we winterize them, taking just a lot of work. We have quite a bit of work. We have some concrete work, but pool will be drained here this week. Already talked to the utilities and telling them they'll be getting about 300,000 gallons of water heading their way. Anyway, Memorial Park was host to 2 5Ks in August. You're Not Alone and St. Joseph Church, both having great turnouts. The Battle of the Barbecue for the Cancer Society was also held at Memorial Park. Just had beautiful weather and a huge crowd, probably their largest crowd ever, and I know the biggest fundraiser they've ever had. I think that's the 14th barbecue that they've had. Last year was a drive-through. They had a little bit of drive-through, but boy, did the people come out, and I want to thank everybody there for their hard work. We have a couple of outside groups using our park on a regular basis. Community Band performed a couple times on the Joe Hawbush Memorial Bandstand at Memorial Park, and a few times Hoosier Town Ball is playing on Sundays at the baseball field. Lebanon Youth Football League is going smoothly at Abner Longley. A lot of competitive games being played. There's a lot of activity down there through the week, all the practices, and they went through all that hot weather too. I think they're really enjoying this cool weather. Now, the RC track had another event in August with over 100 people attending. Both the Conservation Pond and Hot Pond were stocked again in August. That's the second time this season that we've done that. I think there was an 8.5 animal, you'll probably appreciate that, an 8.5 pound catfish, channel cat, at the Hot Pond was caught today. I saw a picture of that. Ted Caldwell just let me know. Lebanon Cross Country also had hosting their first cross country meet at Abner Longley Park today. They've always run at the middle school, so I was real happy to see them come back to Southside. I know when I ran cross country back in the day, I ran around that cinder track, if anybody remembers that. The course will utilize the Conservation Pond area, and we welcome them. We cleaned up and trimmed flowers downtown. We're having to stay up on watering since we've been so dry. It's just been a constant battle. I think you all know with your own flowers at home that they have to be watered daily, and we have a lot of flowers to water along with downtown. Caleb Skank, who's with us in the audience today, has been cleaning up the Big 4 Trail. I think he's got all the way past Hazel Rig. I want to thank him for the hard work there. The equipment sure does help though, doesn't it, Caleb? We have some nice equipment. The 2021 Daddy-Daughter Dance was held on the deck of Seashore Water Park, and we had a great turnout. That's the second time we've tried it on the deck, and it really went well. Dads and daughters enjoyed a night of dancing, dinner, and entertainment by the Black Box Bozos and Taylor Moss, and music was provided by DJ Andrew Vaughn. We had around 205 guests, and looking forward to next year's dance. Our Fall Pickleball League is up and running and will be held into the second week of October. There is a co-ed doubles division and a women's doubles division. We are planning to host a doubles tournament mid-October to round out the tournament or the year. The tournament information will be posted soon. We're currently planning our Pumpkins in the Park event, which will be held this year on Saturday, October 23rd. The event will be from 11 to 2 p.m. and will be held in Memorial Park. Final details will be we'll share next week. Also want to let you know that we're on Instagram now, and that's a big one for us. If anybody's an Instagram follower, follow us on Instagram. We have quite a few in our on our website. website that we're reaching out to. Hope you like the weekly or the bi-weekly little notes. I think they're pretty cool. We've tried to appreciate a lot of the help that we had and kind of encourage these kids to come and apply at the park, and so we can have lifeguards, so we can keep this pool open season long. But that's all I had. Do you have any questions?
Anything else?
Anything? All right, thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else to come before the board this evening, if everyone's had a chance to look at the claims, I'd entertain a motion to approve the claims.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second? I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. The last item on the agenda, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you all for joining us this evening.